Are you the parent or caregiver of a child who's around 5 years old and you're wondering how to help them sound clearer, what kinds of sounds they need to know and focus on? Well, you've come to the right place. Hi, my name is Amini. I'm a speech and language pathologist with several years of experience working with children and their parents to maximize speech and language development. And my mission with this YouTube channel is to empower parents and caregivers, especially those with children around the age of 5 or under, because this is when a child's speech and language are developing so rapidly, and just little changes that you make in the way you talk and play with your child has huge implications for not just the way speech and language develop in the years to come, but also in the way that learning develops in the years to come. So without further ado, let's get into it. What should you be expecting from your child who's around 5 years old? I'm going to have 3 videos on this topic. This is the first in a series of 3. You can check out my channel for the other 2. But first, I'm just going to talk about the general sounds that 3 general sounds that your child should know, should be starting to have, and ways that you can help them. So the 3 sounds that I'm going to talk about in this video are the L sound and the S and the Z sound. So L, S, and Z. So normally at around 4, you would start to see some of these sounds emerging, meaning that a child should be saying them more often. At around 5, we would definitely expect that a child is saying these correctly, at least the majority of the time, even if there are some errors. And if your child is not getting their L or their S and their Z, some of the easiest ways that you can help them is just by really targeting those sounds when you talk. Because the way that you talk right now is a primary model for your child. They're going to pick up on the way that you talk. And when you emphasize or stress certain sounds subconsciously, they're going to pick up on that. They don't have to reply and they don't have to say exactly what you said. Just the fact that they're hearing these sounds and that you're emphasizing them will help them a great deal. So my first tip is how to help them with the L sound. The thing that I like to do best is to focus on things that you like or the things that you love during the day. So you can say things like, I love this, or I like this. Notice the way that I am emphasizing the L. I'm holding it out at least a few seconds, and I'm adding that little pop. That is really showing how I'm making the sound. Sometimes I'll even point to my tip of the tongue here, la, to make it exaggerated and show how I'm making the sound. So I like this one. I love this one. That's a great way to emphasize those sounds. Another way that I really like to talk about the L is when I'm counting a lot of things. I'll talk about all of the things. So for example, all of the Play-Doh. Again, I held out the L, I added that L, and I even exaggerated the way my tongue made the sound. All of the Play-Doh, or maybe all these fish, etc. So that all is another one that you can add in there if you're looking for an L in a different position of the word. So just the fact that you're emphasizing this over and over again will help your child. You can also ask your child about what they like or what they love, and then see how they're making their L. They might not copy you correctly immediately, but with time, they might try to copy the way that you're making the L sound. So my first tip would be to focus on that L in those 3 words. It's a nice, easy way to get that awareness of that L started. My next tips have to do with the S and the Z sound. So tip number 2 is to keep an eye out for a lisp. So there are 2 types of lisps that you might see on S and Z. One of them is a frontal lisp. So this is where the tongue sticks out over like this. So if somebody's saying some, for example, it would be thumb. Another type of lisp is the lateral lisp. So some would become shum, like that. It kind of comes from the sides, and it has a bit of an airy sound to it. If you see either of those, what you want to do first and foremost is to make an appointment with a local speech therapist because that is a harder thing to correct. But also, you can start to emphasize the way you're making your S sound by repeating back any sort of incorrect S that you hear. So let me give you an example of what I mean by this. So say you are looking at this fun game, Smelly Socks, and you're noticing that your child says socks, either like socks or like socks. So you can say, just listen to what your child says and repeat back the sound the right way. So you can say, you're right, those are socks. They're socks. 3 things to notice here. I didn't tell the child it was wrong. I didn't correct them. I didn't say that's a lisp. That's not your job. You're just their parent and you want to encourage them. What I did instead is I said, you're right. I repeated back the sound in the right way. Socks. Those are socks. So I repeated the sound back in the right way, and I held it out. I even pointed a little bit to my tongue, which is supposed to be behind the front teeth. Socks. Those are socks. You're right. And I did that a couple of times. And you could just do that for 10 or 15 minutes a day. Set your timer. Listen to whatever your child is saying and play. If you catch an incorrect S or Z, just repeat it back the right way, emphasizing the way you made your S sound, especially if you see the lisp kind of pronunciation for the S. You want to A, call an SLP, but B, you can also model your S and Z in this way. So that's a really nice and easy way to set the foundation for a good S and Z sound. But of course, you can also use this tip if you notice your child dropped the S or Z. That is, they weren't saying it at all. My last tip is to focus on certain grammar forms to emphasize the S and Z. So the 3 grammar forms to focus on are possessives, plural, and apostrophe S. Possessives are just when you're talking about whose something is. So for example, in this case, this monster's socks. There's that apostrophe S. The monster's socks, or this monster's socks. Or maybe you're taking turns with this game. So you can say Lily's turn or Mike's turn. That's okay too, because again, you're emphasizing that apostrophe S. So possessives are a great one. Another way that you can focus on the plural S is to say S at the end when you're counting. So for example, 1 sock, 2 socks, 3 socks, 4 socks, etc. Or maybe you can say 1 green, 2 greens. There you go. You got that Z sound. 3 greens, etc. So there's that plural. You can focus on that too. Or you can just focus on the apostrophe S. For example, that's a monster, or it's a guitar, or that's a hat. Again, apostrophe S is a substitute for that is, or maybe he's playing the guitar. In all of those situations, you can just hold out that S for a few seconds, add that burst of air, add that emphasis, and your child will notice that S and Z that you're using in those circumstances, and you'll also be helping grammar as well. So the great thing about emphasizing the S and Z there is those are great grammar forms that come in around kindergarten, and you're helping your child with that as well. So there you have it. 3 tips to work on 3 sounds that should be solidifying at the age of 5. The L, the S, and the Z. So remember, if you are worried about speech sounds and speech clarity, you want to get help sooner than later. So you want to have a conversation either with a local speech therapist or with your child's teacher or a pediatrician, whatever it is. You want to do that sooner than later. Because the earlier you do it, the more likely your child will correct their sound quicker. If you want more resources, you can check out the links in the description box below. there is a link to our mailing list. There's also our ebook on speech sound development, our parent education course, and I've also listed some of the toys that I demoed in this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that this helped you, and happy talking.